Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Social Liability Podcast, the podcast where we examine those folks in our society that have broken the social contract we've all agreed to live by. And we have a very special Florida centric episode for you this week. And it was kind of thrown together on the fly, Buck.
It really was, but I gotta tell you, the Sunshine State is bringing a smile to our faces today, buddy.
It really is. I mean, we got typically we give you three stories of the violations of the social contract. And this week, all three stories are coming out of the great state of Florida, and it's not as if it's planned. It just kind of happens because Florida has that effect on people, I think. So to start us off, let's start off with our new Florida Man theme song.
Florida man, does whatever the fuck he can. Makes headlines every time. Florida's paradigm. Look out! Here comes Florida man.
So we're gonna start out. I think this one. This one's the greatest one. So this is from Jacksonville, Florida Times Union. Police: Florida man wrecks liquor store, blames hookah smoking caterpillar. And this is obviously an Alice in Wonderland reference, but in Crestview, Florida, a Florida man, it kind of writes itself. I think Florida's become a meme of itself because it even starts all of their stories with a Florida man. So
A Florida man. ... Dot.
Pretty much. Crestview, Florida. Florida man arrested for destroying a liquor store under construction told police he was Alice in Wonderland and that the hookah smoking caterpillar ordered him to attack the site.
I wonder if they brought out the sketch artist for that one.
Oh,
I mean, seriously. I'd have to call, all hands on deck to get to the bottom of that one, buddy.
See,
that'd just be it.
See, a lot of times you'll see, you'll be driving down the street and you're going to see someone pulled over, and there's like half a dozen police cars there, and you're like, oh my god, they just caught Ted Bundy or something. Reality is, it's usually something amusing, and they just start messaging their buddies, and you got to come see this. It happens all the time, or they're just bored. So when you see someone parked along the road being pulled over, and you see a half a dozen cop cars, it's probably definitely prime rubbernecking material, or there is literally nothing going on in that town, and they're all just bored out of their minds.
It would also be a good time to make sure you keep an eye on the papers for about the next week, because you'll probably figure out if it was something good, whether or not you'll in the papers, or we'll probably cover it here.
Yeah. So if something pops up in your local papers, do send it to us because we're always looking for stuff. Crestview Police said in a Facebook post that Matthew Horace Jones, I'm sorry, you're not setting up your children for success when you give them a name such as Horace.
No.
No. I put it this way: whenever I'd work in probation, or heck, even when I was back in the prison system, we'd have I'd do card counts, and you had to pull the cards out and match their faces to the pictures and blah blah blah. I couldn't pronounce half their damn names. I mean, they say never trust somebody with two first names, but if you can't pronounce their name, they probably have a criminal record.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Think of all the just screwed up names. And don't ever name your child Prince.
Oh.
I think he ended up getting.
Oh man.
I think he ended up getting a murder charge later.
You know what? I mean, you seriously just uttering that phrase just flooded me with terrible, terrible memories. Gosh.
Anyway, witnesses.
He might have been from Florida.
So anyway, police said in the post that Matthew Horace Jones is accused of breaking into a fenced-in area and using a forklift to cause more than $100,000 in damage. He faces grand theft felony. Grand theft felony. That's okay. That's how it's written. He faces grand theft felony and other charges. Witnesses called 911 and police went to the site. No kidding. No. They sent the aerial
Wait,
unit.
wait. Now, I'm sorry. I just have to go back to this. Is there a comma between grand theft and felony?
No,
Or is it all. Oh, boy.
it is. He faces grand theft felony and other charges.
I will remind you that this was probably also written by a Florida person. Anyhow.
Witnesses called 911 and police went to the site. No kidding. No, they just said, well, send us some pictures. Police said Jones aimed the forklift towards the officers and stopped him at gunpoint. That was me. That wasn't the article. That was me. Police quoted Jones as identifying himself as Alice in Wonderland, blaming the attack on the hookah-smoking caterpillar, and saying that he had a problem with building a place to sell alcohol. No lawyer is listed for him. So apparently, Mr. Horace is an advocate for blue laws. But I didn't, I don't think the caterpillar was smoking tobacco. So I don't think the caterpillar would have that much problem with alcohol.
Or maybe, yeah, I don't even know where to go with that. I'm sorry. I was trying to think of a punchy one-liner, but there's just too much going on in that right there. I just can't find a direction to go.
So, yeah, I do. I have to imagine every officer in that jurisdiction and neighboring jurisdictions showed up for this show. But I mean, in all seriousness, I don't understand how people. I mean, we're not saying there's drugs involved here, but there was drugs involved here. I can't see someone just going crazy. And if you look at his picture, I mean, we're imagine what you suspect somebody from Florida to look like, and that's this dude. I can't even really describe it any better. This guy's from Florida, so he's
drugs cause some of the greatest fuckaloos that ever exist, and this is just another example. Like, seriously, coming up, looking at a police officer and saying with conviction that the caterpillar told me to do it. I mean, like, that right there, I mean, like,
greetings, officer. I am Alice in Wonderland. I was instructed to do this by that hookah-smoking caterpillar over there.
And it's a dude. How can he be Alice? Like, whatever he
had.
Hey.
Don't misgender him. You don't know.
You know what? This is well, you know what? You make a point there. But still, regardless, I'm gonna go ahead and presume that this is a male, and that he would identify as such. So, that being the case, they like, you're gonna tell him that you're Alice and that a caterpillar told you to do it. Like, how can you, without drugs, select that to be the hill you're gonna die on? Like, man, oh day, dude. Like, that's really drawing some straws there.
Well, moving on to WCTV in Tallahassee, we have in Daytona Beach. Police say they've arrested a Florida man. Of course, they can't even. The guys covering this can't even resist. So police say they've arrested a Florida man who was accused of threatening his neighbors with nunchucks and bug spray before cutting his own head when he accidentally hit himself with the weapon.
Of all the nefarious items you could grab from your home to pose a threat, like, we're gonna grab the nunchucks and the bug spray. Like, that'll show them.
I've been more afraid of the bug spray and the lighter,
Right. I mean, like, where did he come up with that pairing? But either way, go for it.
Well, a lot of people don't realize this, but actually, even possession of nunchucks in most states is illegal. It falls under an offensive weapon. So, like brass knuckles, for example, or a slapjack. A lot of times nunchucks fall under that too, but probably not in Florida. Actually, probably does in Florida. Anyway, Daytona Beach spokesman says 61-year-old Larry Adams complained about his late neighbor's loud music coming from a car in the parking lot of their Daytona apartment complex. Police say Adams sprayed 4 of his neighbors with roach spray and swung his nunchucks in a threatening manner before hitting himself. Okay, so how he swung the nunchucks in a threatening manner. How else do you swing nunchucks?
I'm still waiting to see where this whole plan derailed.
Well,
Because
he hit himself.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know yet, man. I mean, like, he's coming out of the gate strong, spraying people with bug spray. Maybe the hit slapping himself in the face was a diversion. Like, yeah, I don't think so. Actually, no, it wasn't. This guy's obviously just a rube. But what?
Adams is charged with aggravated assault and battery with a deadly weapon. County jail records don't list a lawyer for Adams. Neighbors tell WOFL she was surprised Adams used bug spray since she was not a roach. That's what surprised her. She was surprised Adams used a bug spray since she was not a roach.
You know, the world's been shut down for a bit there, Raz, but I gotta ask you now, do they make pesky neighbor spray now? Is
Ooh.
that something that's...
That sounds like we could corner
Is
the
that
market.
something that... Well, I mean, obviously in Florida, this woman being so surprised that he's using roach spray, I mean, like, perhaps he should have grabbed another insecticide.
Pesky neighbor spray, what would that consist of? I'm thinking urine. I'm thinking get yourself an aerosol can. You know, they have these little pump-up ones you can put, like, olive oil in there so you don't have to buy cooking spray. You can just make your own kind of thing there. Get those and just take a piss in them, and then you just have to spray your neighbors. Pesky neighbor spray.
You know, I imagine they would make it geographically. It would be like Febreze. You could get the urine smelling or some other offensive odor, just depending on where in the nation you live. So I would say I could see it being something like that.
So what? If you were selling it in Canada, it'd smell like poutine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you know,
Canadian.
I mean, like, you know, see, that's the problem, man. There's just so many ways that you could go to just crack a joke at Canada, and then they'll just hit me all at once. I couldn't think of one.
Yeah. So, but if you notice the ongoing theme here, that whenever they check into the jail, that no lawyer is ever listed for them. Does anybody practice law in Florida? At least not criminal defense, apparently. Or they're just overwhelmed.
I think, yeah. I mean, like, you know, they post the attorney's name, and he's being represented by this guy. Yeah, he's one out of like 17,000 on that guy's like file. Like, he's got like a Rolodex of clients because of this kind of stuff. Of course, they're not listening to these people.
No, and see, one of my guilty pleasures in life is courtroom shows. I like the People's Court. And I sometimes like Judge Judy. It all depends on who she's yelling at that day. And just some of the just nonsensical stuff that people sue for. And that you're thinking that, well, this is just television. But it's not. That's the problem. It is not. We have our legal system, our civil legal system is so just backlogged because of it is so easy to sue somebody. I can sue you for anything. I can literally file a lawsuit because I think you're ugly. You offend my eyes. And
you, sir, are offensive to 4 of my 5 sentences. I will see you in the court of law tomorrow.
Well,
yeah.
No, it takes longer than that. But I mean, seriously, you can file suit for anything. And lawyers, dirty secret, folks. You know where lawyers make most of their money? When they send out a letter, and it says, "You better do this, or we're gonna sue." And just because they have really fancy letterhead and it says "attorney at law," most people will say, "Oh shit, it's a lawyer letter. I better do this, or I'm gonna get sued." They don't think that it's a letter. It doesn't mean shit, and they usually comply with it. And guess what? Lawyers aren't even the one writing it. It's usually the secretary, maybe a paralegal, which again is probably also the secretary, but but they're still charging you the same rates. They're charging you a couple $100 to write a freaking letter, and a lot of times too, if you just write back on it, pound sand or kick rocks, and send it back, and that's usually the last you'll hear about it, unless it's something really stupid, because they don't want to go to court. They don't want to go to court, and
No, they do not.
I recently had to do. Well, not recently. I guess it was. It wasn't recently at all. But one of the last papers I wrote in college was about plea bargains and how they are actually a necessity in our legal system at this point. Because if we took everything to trial, it would take you over a decade to go to court. So everyone makes complaints about
Yeah, it is.
about plea bargains, but unfortunately, they're a necessity. And there's lawyers out there, and I'll throw one out there. I won't say his name, but if you live in Adams County, Pennsylvania, there is an attorney who's got billboards up, and that's never the sign of a good attorney. If they got billboards, that's never a good sign. And he's a younger fella, and I don't think I've ever seen him actually take anything to trial. And he's a criminal defense attorney. And I've never seen him take anything to trial. I'm sure he has. But the dude is like the king of the plea bargains. You know exactly who I'm talking about. And he's kind of a dick.
I do know who you're talking about, and he is definitely kind of a dick. You got nothing really contrary to say to that one. That you kind of hit the nail on the head there. But also, I think you're right. We live in a far too litigious society, and it is grossly apparent that our legal system would be backlogged with all the silly shit that people think that they can just take somebody to court for.
Well, see, the last lawyer letter I got.
Not that they get. Well, they can.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, you could take somebody to court for just about anything, but the fact of the matter is that people are doing it, and that's why we've got such a problem. That's all I was going to say.
The last lawyer letter I got, we've talked about it on previous episodes, was about the stupid fence on the house that I'm trying to sell. And the guy was like, oh, butthurt about, what did I say it was, 11 inches? Luckily, at the time, I was working for several attorneys, and one of them in particular was, I'd done outstanding work for them, and they loved me, and I loved working for them. And that was one of the worst parts about moving away. It was having to give them the notice that I wasn't able to do any more work for them anymore, and they were really upset. But I went in there and said, "Hey, I need a sit down," and didn't charge me almost anything, but it was a very prestigious law firm in that area. So as soon as my lawyer fired a letter back saying kick rocks, that was it. I mean, I had to move the fence, but by the end of the week and all this other bullshit, no. I'll get to it when the ground's no longer frozen and when I can hire somebody. So kick rocks. And it took about 6 months, but I got it moved. But that's the big thing is most lawyers are just going to send out a letter and hope for the best. There was in the town we used to live in, there was a woman in there and referred to by all the locals as the bitch on wheels. And this woman who was handicapped, she was in a wheelchair, she made her living. She did this for her as a living. She would go to different towns and find every single business that was not handicap accessible to her standards, or the standards of the ADA, I should say. And then she would send them a letter saying that if you don't pay me this amount of money, I'm going to sue you. And the amount of money was only a couple $1,000s each. But it was enough that it was more advantageous just to pay her to go away than it was to fight it in court. Now, they probably would have won because it was a historic town and other factors go into it. But she this is how this woman made her living. Every couple years, she would show up, roll through town and say she couldn't access this store because there was a step, or the bathroom wasn't big enough, or what have you. And most of the businesses in this town were comprised of houses that were built, in the 1800s. So
That shit that really pisses me off, man, because it is a fact that businesses, yeah, the ADA is a thing, but as a handicapped person, I also realize, like, one of my favorite stores to buy vape juice when I can't get my online order in on time. They don't have a ramp. They have no ramp. They have a step. Literally, like 11 inches is what would keep me from accessing this store. So what did I do? I like the people that own the store. I like the products they sell there, and I really like the stuff that they have on display in the cases. How did I solve this? Not by being a crying, whining little bitch and threatening to sue. No.
oh, I think we lost Buck there. I think he froze up on us. So
Have a ramp.
Oh.
Can I so that I can get in? And the guy went, yeah.
So,
Like,
you did freeze up
people-
on us there for a second, Buck. Did you say you built them a ramp, or you had them given a ramp?
No. I bring my own ramp with me everywhere. I have 2 ramps that I bring with me. They're in my car all the time. And in case somewhere doesn't have a ramp, I don't need to be an asshole about it. I can just put a fucking ramp down and be done. And go in and do my shopping. I don't have to be a little whiny asshole like this lady is. That pisses me off. Sorry.
No. I figured that might touch a nerve. So,
No, it definitely did, man. I don't like that shit. I don't like that.
yeah. Well, and she would come around about every 3 years or so, I believe. But she would also just make her rounds between like the Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, Virginia, West Virginia area, and that's what she did. She would go around, document every place she went, and her attorney would send letters, and that's what she did for a living.
Yeah, see, that kind of behavior makes me want to change my thoughts on euthanasia for certain types of people. Like, come on.
Well,
Jeez.
that's the kind of shit.
Sorry, man. Again, that just pisses me off.
And that's the kind of shit that right there bogs our legal system down, makes it to everyone hates attorneys. By the way, if you ever want to have jury duty, when they ask you, do you have anything else you want to say? Yeah, I fucking hate attorneys, and I wish they had all died in fiery plane crashes. You'll never get picked for jury duty. But
yeah.
But the reality is most people do feel that way about attorneys. When you ask them what the most hated profession is in the United States, it's going to be attorneys, almost exclusively. That, and right now maybe police officers.
Lawyers, politicians, and car salesmen. Those are the ones that I always got fronted with when I was working.
Pretty much. And we've just gotten to the point in our society where I'll sue. Jesus. I honestly think.
Go ahead.
I honestly
go
think.
ahead and sue.
I think that the solution to this should be if I sue you for $1,000. Okay, you did something nefarious to me in my eyes. I want to sue you. I'm going to sue you for $1,000. It should be that if I lose that lawsuit, and it is determined that it was because it was a frivolous lawsuit, I should have to pay you $1,000.
I wouldn't say 1,000, but I think you should have to pay some sort of damages.
No. If because you got these people. Let's talk about this for a second, because I can go down a rabbit hole.
Well,
here.
you know what? For $1,000, no. You know what though? For $1,000, I could see. I'm thinking higher dollar.
Oh no,
like
we're
10,000.
We're going to go higher dollar amounts. So every time you talk about frivolous lawsuits, you got people that will discuss the hot coffee incident, the woman that scalded herself with her coffee at McDonald's and then sued because they didn't tell them it was hot. Guess what? That's not what happened. Why don't you tell me what do you think happened? Just from everything you've read and seen and heard people talk about.
I can only regurgitate the public, the popular opinion, but I saw this on an episode of Adam Ruins Everything, and I know that.
Okay, well you're cheating.
I can't remember exactly why. Well, so what, man? I can cheat. I'm not cheating. I'm not plagiarizing it and passing it off as my own diction. I saw somebody else smart talking about it, and I just can't remember what the fuck they said.
Well, he's not smart, but people that write for him usually are. The thing that pops up is a lot of people they think, oh, this woman just spilled coffee on herself and she got a payday. So what actually happened was the coffee is served to the point where it is actually not safe for human consumption. It is so hot. And it actually wasn't her getting it. She was in the passenger seat. She wasn't even driving. It was her son or grandson, I can't remember which, but was driving the vehicle. When they gave it to her, it did scold her. I mean, to the point they had to have a plastic surgeon reconstruct her genitals. It was horrific. I have seen the pictures. I mean, it was absolutely horrific. I've seen less gross war injuries. And what they asked for was simply to cover her out-of-pocket medical expenses. They didn't ask for anything. No pain and suffering, nothing. She just wanted her deductibles paid. And McDonald's...
And then they wanted to be bitches about it, yeah.
And McDonald's, I think they offered her like $300 or so. It was something like just a stupid amount of money. And at that point, yeah, they sued. And they...
hold on, Raz. Hold on. You know that McDonald's is a kind and caring organization. They probably threw in a couple of Happy Meal coupons to that very lucrative offer they gave her at the beginning at first too.
Man, just think of all the McDonald's toys she could have sold on eBay. So
that's what I'm saying, man.
When she sued, she didn't sue for the amount that she won. That was punitive damages that the jury decided that she should get what McDonald's earned for 1 day's worth of coffee sales. And that is where that outrageous millions of dollars number came from. And yes, McDonald's is that damn big. And, you know, eventually what most people don't realize is that the judge did set aside that amount and issue a different amount. Now, it's still, you know, a very large sum of money. But everyone keeps saying, oh, this woman, she put coffee between her legs when she was driving and burned herself. Of course she's supposed to know it's supposed to be hot. Well, no, that's not exactly what happened. But we make it as a joke about, you know, the frivolous lawsuits. But reality is it's more of a meme on ourselves because there is so many people suing everybody for anything. And it is utterly ridiculous. And I don't know about where I'm at now, but I know it used to be a $110 filing fee to sue somebody. That was all you needed.
Yep.
Have you ever been sued?
Yep. And like, yes, I have, but I didn't have to. I got sued over something when I was working for the insurance company.
Really?
And it went right. Yep. Yep. But it was something that an agent who was working there 30 years before I was even born did, and you know when the client and you know whatever was going through his head when he sued, my name just got thrown into it, and it was kind of scary at first, but after they got like the administrative end fixed and realized that like you can't sue a kid for something that was done 30 years before he was born, you know, it was kind of thrown out. But I mean, that's how easy it was. Like nobody verified any of that information. Nobody did anything. They were just like, his name's the name on this policy and it's messed up and we're going to sue. So we're suing you. And I was just like, how did this even get through the paperwork? Like, how did this even get through the clerk of courts? But it is just that easy to sue. You don't really need a reason.
No,
you just simply go I'm going to sue this person.
You get down to the local magistrate.
You fill out I'm going to sue him.
You fill out a one-page form, and turn it in, and then they'll issue the subpoenas. Done. End of story.
That's it. As long as you pay the filing fee, they don't care. You could sue Donald Duck.
Speaking of which, you did send me an article that we decided not to use, but of Kanye West trying to run for president, and some of the signatures were um, negated because they were such as Mickey Mouse, and he was suing the board of elections in some area to prove that Mickey Mouse didn't sign the form. So
Right.
it's people can sue for anything. Literally, Kanye West is suing a board of elections to prove Mickey Mouse did not sign a petition.
Right. And you know what? Kanye West is probably going to find a lawyer that they could get Ray Charles a driver's license and actually get this thing taken in front of somebody to have it looked at, which is preposterous. There are people out there committing crimes and doing gross acts against the social contract we all agree to live by. And some of these things do belong in court, and some of them should be, you know, pursued through those avenues, but they can't be.
Yeah.
Because somebody is just throwing shit like Mickey's signature into the frickin' ring to be examined and looked at. And, you know, what I don't even know what kind of law, like, what would that even solve? Like, what is the purpose of suing for something? And I'm actually asking you.
I can actually tell you, because if you notice, every time that that Kanye West has a new album or a new single come out, he is in some kind of controversy immediately preceding it. Whether it is his support for the Republican Party, his suing for a signature or something. He's got, if you look, every time right before something of his is going to drop, or a book or something of that nature, he's involved in some kind of controversy. It's publicity. He paid that $110 or whatever it is where he is at filing fee, knowing full well that the news is going to pick it up and make all these stories about it, that we're going to talk about it on a podcast. And he just took up residency and got advertising space on our podcast, and he paid nothing for it except for that $110 or so filing fee. And now it is all over everything. There's news stations covering it. There's podcasts. There's newspapers. You name it. It's the cheapest publicity out there. And the guy's a genius. I think it's ridiculous that.
Could we sue him for it?
Why not? We could.
That's what I'm saying. You know what? We should do that. I bet you his lawyers would settle out of court too.
No, they'd sue us. So moving on to ABC 33.
Can't get blood from a stone.
They might take your dog.
Yeah.
That one looks pretty comfortable on your lap.
You know what? She is. She actually lounges here for most of the day. She is my service dog. And people look at me like I got 10 heads when I say, yes, a Chihuahua is a service dog. Like, but it is the truth. She is trained. She knows when my body temperature is getting too high, because I'm extremely heat sensitive. And if it's getting too high, or if I'm getting overheated, she gets up in my grill and forces me to take a drink or to cool off or get out of the sun. It is nice. So thank you for letting me have a little 30 seconds of fame for my baby.
So ABC News reports from Tampa, Florida, deputies in Central Florida are looking for a man who had a temper tantrum at a Wendy's drive-thru window, and it was all caught on camera. According to Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, a car full of people became belligerent after they placed their order at the Wendy's in Tampa. One man, identified as Calvin Barnes, 26, got out of the car and leaned through the drive-thru window. He's seen on camera grabbing things, throwing them to the floor, spilling a beverage, and trying to grab the cash drawer. Employees rushed over to shut the window. Barnes got back in the car with a group of people and drives away. Deputies traced the rental car, a 2020 Nissan Maxima, with a Tennessee license plate to Barnes. He is facing charges of burglary, criminal mischief, and petty theft. Okay, so we've all had the drive-thru experience. If you drive a car in this country, you've gone to a fast food window. If you have been in a car with somebody in this country, you have gone to a fast food window. Don't pretend like you haven't. So, we've all had stories of people that are just making us mad. My wife loves to retell one. When I was in a particularly bad mood one day, and there was a woman that just kept looking behind me and making weird faces. I don't know why. And then she freaking wouldn't move her car. We were literally stuck. I was stuck at the window where you ordered at, not the window, the speaker box. And I'm wanting to pull up so other people can order, but she's not moving. So I, give a little boop, quick tap on the horn. She looks back and she just scowls at me through the mirror. And I yell back, "What the fuck you looking at, you llama-toothed bitch?" One of my more pleasant moments, I suppose. But we've all had issues with the drive-through lines. We've all wanted to come through that window, but Calvin Barnes, he fulfilled the prophecy and became known as the Wendy's Florida Man. When he decided to just get out of the car and try to come through the window and start wrecking shit, did they not give him enough fries? What would cause what would cause you at a drive-through window to be so mad that you had to get out of the car and try to crawl through the window and steal the cash register and throw everything around?
If it were Wendy's, I might be driven to do that if there were a problem with my Frosty.
I don't, I'm not gonna say I don't get a Frosty on occasion, but I just don't see the hype.
Neither do I. It's chocolate freaking ice cream in a cup.
Is it ice cream?
That's well, the thing is that it's thicker than a milkshake, but just thin enough to where you can't call it ice cream. Like they found like their loophole and they exploited the fuck out of it. They were like, "This is an ice cream, but it ain't a milkshake either. We were gonna make milkshakes, we just kept the machine on too long, and we're gonna call it Frosty, and people are gonna love it." Somebody better get out there and dip a French fry in there and show everybody how to do this shit.
It's the combination of sweet and salty.
But you know what? I mean, Wendy's came from Ohio, and people in Ohio, how do I say that they're strange without saying it in a bad way?
I think it's too late.
No, they're people. Yeah, no, it really is. Can't put the truth back in the box. People in Ohio are just strange, and I could see them trying to market the Frosty like that. But either way,
how do you know
that?
How do you know that Wendy's came from Ohio?
Because it was founded by my esteemed brother, Dave Thomas, who made the first original Wendy's in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, I'll accept that. It's just a piece of random knowledge that you have that most people probably wouldn't. Except for the people that live in Columbus, probably, who have a statue to Dave Thomas, I'd imagine.
You know what? I am a cornucopia of useless and seemingly, random facts that people don't generally care about, but they're fun to throw into conversation when you don't have anything else intelligent to say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So that is 3 stories of how Florida continues to entertain us as a nation with their blatant violations of the social contract. So once again, let's hear that theme song.
Florida man, does whatever the fuck he can. Makes headlines every time. Florida's paradigm. Look out! Here comes Florida man.
I think we're going to continue to use that because each and every week it's pretty easy to find a Florida man story for us. So make sure that if you enjoy this podcast, you are hitting the subscribe button. If you're watching it on YouTube, hit the like button, leave a comment. On all the platforms that we're available on, whether it be Radio Public, CastBox, Pocket Cast, Google Podcast, Overcast, Breaker, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or on our home at Anchor. Leave us a review. tell a friend. That's the biggest thing you can do for us right now. Just tell a friend about the podcast. The Mount Moon family of pods are all available on our YouTube channel. Just search for Mount Moon Crew and you'll find us, or the Social Liability Podcast. You'll find that as well. You can see my page on Facebook at the Raspberry01. We got to get something going for Buck here soon. We'll see what happens. And if you're watching the video version, you may see some new artwork. Thank you to Festus Flair on Twitter. Great artist that we've used for quite a long time now, and can't speak highly enough of him. And other than that, do you have anything else for us, Buck?
On a completely unrelated note, I would like to just highlight that, my backdrop isn't nearly as professional as yours is, but I swear I'm not living in like the midst of clutter. My wife and my best friend David went through and cleaned my carpets, and this is just kind of where everything had to go in order to get that area like carpet cleaner ready. So I just don't want anybody to think that I'm like living in filth.
No, you're just occupying it currently. So well, that's also your wife's office, isn't it? Where she does her home.
No. Nope. My wife's office and the room next to me. This is gonna be. No, never mind. It's not gonna be. But it is a spare bedroom. I was gonna say it's gonna be my room, but I really don't want that. That's a lot of responsibility. I'd rather just be able to use this space. I pay rent here anyhow. Fuck it.
Yeah, we'll just get you a green screen or something. We'll get you set up. Not that this is, meant to be a video podcast. It's just something we add additionally. The audio version, again, is available on most major podcasting platforms. You can find us there. And just like I said, tell a friend. Share it. Tell something. Because, you don't pay anything for this. And numbers will help. Yeah. Keep the Social Liability Podcast going. Keep Mark's sanity intact. And his armada of chihuahuas growing. That being said, folks, have yourself a delightful week, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Social Liability Podcast.